Hey, this is Curtis Childs. Welcome to the show Life After Death. This is where we are going through Emanuel Swedenborg's book Heaven and Hell, which is, in my humble opinion, one of the most remarkable books, maybe in the history of human spirituality. And it might be holding what I think are straightforward answers to the greatest mysteries of life. We got a good one today. We're going to see how in heaven, I'm talking about the heaven in the afterlife, you get to be in your comfort zone. You have to live in your comfort zone, but you also are global at the same time. And we're also going to look at how auras make that happen. Let's go. I feel like there's these two tracks that you could take if you're trying to pursue what's the ideal human experience. Because you have the little village vibe, where we all used to live in these little tribes and clans, and even today you can, like, I've got my little world here, my little garden. Is that heaven? Or is it, we've got this huge interconnected global society where you're getting food from all over the world and you're getting information and ideas from everywhere, and you can, which one is really heaven? The heaven that Swedenborg describes is amazingly both at the same time. So you can have this place where you feel completely at home, and it's your place. You couldn't be somewhere else and be as happy as you are right in your spot. But also, you have this constant, much wider connection with everybody else that's in heaven at the same time. Swedenborg describes it this way in Heaven and Hell. He says, all the communities communicate, this is my alliteration for you, with each other, but not through open interaction. Actually, not many individuals leave their own community to go to another, because leaving their community is like leaving themselves or their life and crossing over into another that does not suit them. Angels are kind of homebodies. Let's look at this. So you have different communities and places in heaven. Swedenborg talks about different layers of heaven that we've talked about in different episodes, but also within any of the heavens, it's not just a big ball of angels. There are little communities. So there's a couple over here. Maybe you're here and here. There's groups and like towns and cities that are all these different communities. And actually, it's not that often that someone says, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to go visit here. I'm going to go do this over here. I'm going to stay here. Which might sound a little bit restrictive, but it doesn't mean that you can't go do that. People do. We did an episode recently called The Consequences of Crossing Heaven's Boundaries. Yeah, angels do it. They go visit other people. But what Swedenborg is saying here, that is a general rule about heaven, is most people don't want to do that much. There is not a wanderlust that permeates heaven. He gives two reasons for it. One is leaving their community is like leaving themselves. It's not random or happenstance or economic that you end up in the community that you're in. The spiritual world is organized around the spirit, which is the conscious part of you. So everybody gravitates toward the people that they most deeply harmonize with and the place in proximity to God that most fully is an expression of the things that are deepest in their heart and mind. So it's not like here, where you might be living somewhere because that's where you could buy a house, but then you're going, I'm going to go on Zillow and see what the houses are like that I can't afford in the place I really want to live. Because here it's like, I like the climate, I don't really like the school system, or vice versa. But there, everything is exactly what you're looking for. So you're not itching to get out of there and be somewhere that you really want to be. That's one reason why there's a little bit less wandering in heaven. But also, there are better ways to interact with other communities than just visiting them. If you notice in the beginning of that quote, Swedenborg says, all the communities communicate with each other. We have that a little bit on Earth. You can travel, obviously, to other communities and other places. Now we can FaceTime them, call them. You're watching this video that I made where I am and you are wherever you are. But what we don't have is what he describes, which is ongoing communication with all the other communities on Earth. Do we have that? I mean, even with the internet, even with all that, no, the people in Calcutta don't know what's going on with me, and we're not affecting each other constantly. But in heaven, there is this more expansive kind of communication that links every single angel to every single other angel in the entirety of the whole thing. How does it work? Swedenborg writes, rather, they all communicate by the outreach of the auras that emanate from the life of every individual. So somehow, even if people got it so good at home that sometimes they travel, that's great, but there's a pull to be with their people in their place doing the thing that they love to do. What is it that connects and makes a unity and a constant interaction between all of them? What exactly is an aura? You probably heard, your aura is glowing. They're in pop culture. They're all around. Swedenborg has a particular definition of an aura, and this is what he says about it.
The word aura is a translation of the Latin word sphaera, from which we get our words sphere and atmosphere. Swedenborg used this word in several different ways, but primarily he uses it to mean a sphere of spiritual activity emanating out from a person or a spirit or from God, or an area of physical activity surrounding anything. These days we might call it an energetic field. And given the Latin root meaning, I imagine it as a kind of bubble. That's a sphere, right? A bubble of unique energy around every person. Now, throughout the work, Heaven and Hell, Swedenborg uses footnotes on various words and concepts, referring to Secrets of Heaven passages where there's further explanation of the topic. And in Heaven and Hell 49, he has a footnote referring to several passages about auras. Here are a few of them. Without our awareness, we are surrounded by a kind of spiritual aura that reflects our emotional life. By emotional life here, we don't mean whether we're depressed or cheerful. Rather, it's about a kind of feeling that radiates out from what we care most about, from our deepest loves and motivations. We're not conscious of this aura around us, but it's there. Second quote, people have around them a number of auras from the spiritual world that mirror their life and place them in company with spirits of a similar emotional makeup. Again, emotional makeup means what we're devoted to, our core values, you might say, or our spiritual goals. So the energy radiating from our core values creates the spiritual company we keep. In the other world, every spirit, and especially every community, is enveloped in an aura given off by their beliefs and their life. And this aura is a spiritual one. It enables spirits, and especially communities, to be recognized for what they are. So in the spiritual world, our aura, or the aura of the community we live in, is kind of a bubble or cloud of energy surrounding us, perceptible to others, so that they know what kind of person we really are. How amazing it would be to be in a world where what you see or smell or perceive or feel really is what you get.
So that's an aura. Everybody's got them. We even have them. We're just not aware of it because we have a physical body and are not as tuned into what's going on spiritually. But those auras can be affected by how much love you have. It could actually, there's a way to pump your aura up and make it reach larger numbers of people. All right, people, we've got angels, and angels have got auras that reach out around them, but how far they go is affected by how much love you have in your heart. I know it sounds cheesy. This is Heaven and Hell 49. An aura of life is an aura of affections based in love and faith. So what you want and what you believe. This reaches out far and wide into surrounding communities, farther and wider as the affections are deeper and more perfect. As your feelings are deeper and more perfect, the wider they reach, because heaven amplifies good things. What does perfect mean? As we said in a previous episode, moving closer to God is what perfection is, because the Lord, who is love for the entire human race, that's perfection. So the more that we approach that, the more perfect our affections are, and so the wider that they spread. So angels of the inmost heaven, Swedenborg calls them heavenly or celestial angels. They have humongous auras. They have the largest auras. And the love that God puts into them, that they really, all they've done is they opened up. They have said to God through their life, come on in, let's do what we need to do. So God pours love into them and then is able through them, like a sort of a network node, to amplify that out to the rest of heaven. If you think about it, the more you connect with the human race, the more wisdom you have. The more you learn about how people are and how they work and gather together the knowledge that all these people have gotten and brought, the more wisdom you have about life in general. You can only really gain that if you have an interest in other people. If you care about their experiences and what they're going through and who they are and everything. So these angels in the middle, who are the closest to how God is, which is absolutely loving and absolutely interested in everybody else, because their love reaches out, it makes them smarter. It makes them as wise as they are because of this outreach to the rest of heaven. Swedenborg says, angels possess intelligence and wisdom in proportion to this outreach. So angels are brilliant, really smart, really wise, and the reason they are is because they're plugged into all the other angels. It's like a collective brain trust thing. The ones who are in the most inward heaven and therefore at the center have an outreach into all of heaven, so that there is a communication of everyone in heaven with each individual, and of each individual with everyone. Come on, dude, that last line is great. That what makes heaven heaven, it's that each individual connects with everyone, and everyone connects with each individual. It's the Three Musketeers. One for all and all for one, all for one. The Three Musketeers, man. D'Artagnan. So angels are open to the love and the wisdom that comes out of God, and that love and wisdom radiates out from each one through this aura, and because these ones in the middle are so open, every single angel in heaven is directly connected to every other angel, even if it has to reroute through here to get to that one. And the reason why it's good that there's that whole outreach that goes back to the middle is that these angels are most directly taking their orders from God, which means that they're going to have the intent to do the most good as much as they possibly can, so they can take all this wisdom from heaven and use it to make heaven better and better. That's the self-multiplying positive effects of heaven. And even though maybe an angel whose proximity is not as close to God might have a smaller aura, it seems, as he describes it, that all of these auras do interconnect, partially because of how the middle radiates out, but in a way, everybody is talking to everybody else all the time. I don't know exactly how conscious it is for every angel in every place, but I think you can feel it. I've heard people who had a near-death experience, like you could just feel the love there. You can feel that God loves you. And I think that's what's being accomplished here, is that the stuff that usually we can't connect to is just everywhere. It's in the air there. So we got these communities in heaven, and the communities all connect to each other through auras. And as you can see, a community in heaven is either made up of 3 or 2 people. Okay, so it's the limitations of the figures. How big are we talking about when we're talking about community? The answer is all different kinds. The answer is variety. Everything in heaven is variety. You know how many different kinds of heaven there are? Exactly the same number as how many angels there are in heaven, because heaven is never exactly the same for any one person. Nobody has the exact same love and the exact same wisdom. However, there are people who have similarities, and those similarities group into communities. But there are so many different people, that there are so many different communities, and so many different kinds of communities that they come in all different sizes. You have some that are big, you have some that are small. Swedenborg talks about it in Heaven, Hell 50. He says, we have noted above that there are larger and smaller communities in the heavens. The larger ones consist of tens of thousands of individuals, the smaller of some thousands, and the smallest of hundreds. There are even people who live alone, house by house, so to speak, and family by family. I don't know if he's talking about tens of thousands. I don't know if it's gotten bigger since then. I mean, now on Earth, you've got mega cities with 30 million people in them. You got countries with 1 billion people. I don't know if heaven is, obviously continually growing. Are there much larger communities than that? Could well be. But it gets all the way down to this bite-sized, like family by family community. And listen to what he says about them. Even though they live apart, they are still arranged in the same pattern as those who live in communities, with the wiser of them in the center and the simpler at the periphery. They are very closely under the Lord's guidance and are the best of angels, which is so fascinating. I don't think that he talks about that. Maybe one other place. Somehow there's these big communities. So you got this is 10,000, 30,000, 1,500, but there's also these like little communities. People just live out alone in the countryside somewhere. And it sounds like he's saying family by family, so it might not just be one person or two people, but there's sort of maybe a little extended family there. And they're under the Lord's guidance and are what he calls the best of angels. So somehow there's like an innocence to that, or a simplicity. I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I think you could compare it to a tree. There's trees that are in the forest, and that's great. They make a forest together. They all grow up and they have a little canopy. But if you have a tree alone in a field, there's this huge spread of branches. I don't know. But somehow, even within there, the form of heaven persists. You have the people who are most open to God in a position where they can, through their aura, radiate out the love and truth God wants to bring to everyone. So even there, this form makes it so that everyone can benefit totally, that everybody gets the benefits of the deepest opening that's happened there. If you want to learn more about the arrangement of where people are located within specific communities in heaven, why wouldn't you want to know that? We did an episode that's called You'll Never Feel Lonely in Heaven, and you can check that one out. Okay, dudes, if I may call you dudes. What did we learn today? Heaven is cool. We learned that heaven has this dual nature to it. In heaven, you have a place that's just for you. You have a spot where you feel like, this is my home. I'm connected to this place, to this land, to these people. I'm finding everything. My heart is content here. Everybody has that. And yet at the same time, there's no isolationism. There's not like, I'm going to shut out the outside world and I don't care, because there is this constant communication of everyone with everyone through the aura of their life. It's like your heart is beating out of your chest into the rest of heaven. And in the middle, there are angels that are so full of God's affection for everyone that their aura extends to the entire heaven, kind of surveys what's going on there, pulls it back in, and then distributes it in some miraculous way to everyone. So a key component of the heaven experience is, hey man, we're all one. I'm very distinctly me in my spot, and at the same time, we're all one. It's a pretty cool system, and it's done through this mechanism of auras that I don't know, is a pretty good trick that God cooked up there.